Welcome to Fantasy Football Aces. You already know it's your boy William Wolf. I'm back. And I got to be real honest with you. We got a real snoozer tonight between the Patriots and Steelers. But we can get into it. Let's talk a little bit about the diamond off the rip. Put it on the monitor here. Wolfman, aka Fantasy Football Aces, sitting at 9-4 in buy position on a 3-game winning streak. We got a big matchup this week against nothing to smile about young kicker who is in second to last place, 3-10, an absolute brutal record. One of these two teams will be last place after this week, and they, when you're the perennial loser, the last place man in the diamond, a lot of bad things happen to you. You get a license plate that says "I suck at fantasy football" in pink. You get the toilet bowl trophy, and you get more importantly and more than anything, get made fun of and told how fucking dumb you are at fantasy football, right? In the diamond, a 2K buy-in and you're in last place. That's just embarrassing. Let's take a look at that matchup. We got him having the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight against New England. That's a great spot for him. Pittsburgh's defense is a little overrated to me this year, but nonetheless against New England, who just hasn't put up any points the last 3 weeks. Really struggling. Ramondre Stevenson out. Pop Douglas, Demario Douglas out. They just have no weapons. They got literally Devontae Parker and a bum, perennial bum. And that's really about it, man. They're going to try to roll out Zeke and give him a lot of work, which we'll get into this game specifically later when I give you my pick of the night. But he's got him, and he's got Najee Harris, who's going to be playing. Najee was questionable all week. But overall, he'll get the same workload. It's a Thursday game. They just gave him the week off going into Thursday. That's pretty common at this point in the NFL. He looked to him for him and Jaylen Warren to both get 50-50 snaps probably. More than likely, Najee has a better opportunity of scoring a touchdown than Warren based on possible goal line carries, but New England's been pretty good against running backs. They've been pretty good in general. The last 4 weeks, they've given up the least amount of points in the NFL in their own 4, which is incredible. It tells you how bad their offense is, but their defense is playing really good football. And it's also that New York Jets game script effect that I've been telling you guys about for all year, frankly. And that's that when you're facing a team that can't score, you don't take chances offensively. You play very conservative, and you play field position, and you know that you're going to inevitably beat them just by being smart and not making mistakes. So that's what teams are doing when they're playing the Patriots right now. They know that they can't move the ball. They know they can't score. So they play smart. They don't turn the ball over. They don't take chances. And a game where you're essentially having 2 backups in Mitch Trubisky and Bailey Zappi, I wouldn't expect a lot of scoring to happen in this game. The Steelers defense, I predict that, they have a pretty good day. I would say probably 13, 14 points, I would say, which is, it's not good, but at the same time, I have the Miami Dolphins going against Tennessee, And I also have the option of starting Green Bay against New York Giants. They're both on Monday night. So I'll make a decision closer to game time. I might make my decision based on weather as well, because I'd rather play that defense in bad weather. I think they're both really good. I'm sorry. I think they're both really good spots. Miami's a much better defense, and they've been playing incredible defense the last 4 weeks. They're healthy. Besides losing Phillips, their pass rusher. They picked up JPP, a vet, and they kind of slotted Van Ginkel into that same spot that Phillips was playing, and they're keeping it rolling. The secondary, most importantly, Holland, we need to get back on the field. He's a Pro Bowler, and Jalen Ramsey is healthy, and that defense just looks incredible. So we'll make a decision based on that. We got the kicker for Miami, who he did what he was supposed to do this past week. A lot of volume, 10 points, on 6 extra points. I predict that's going to be like what I get out of him the remaining going through the playoffs, which is exactly what I want. I just want a kicker who's not going to let me down. And I know Sanders is going to at least get 5 or 6 points just because the offense is so good. And that's the low side, on the high side, he can end up with, 16, 17 points just by kicking a couple 40-yarders and some extra points. We got Raheem Mostert sitting out practices. That's not anything to be concerned about. He's been sitting out all year on Thursdays, especially the last 5 weeks. He's a vet. Taysom Hill injury is a little concerning. He hasn't been on the injury report all year, and he has sat out practice today and yesterday. So I am concerned about Taysom Hill. I really want him and need him this week against Carolina, because I think against Carolina he's going to score at least 1 touchdown for sure. I'm really, really, really bullish on Taysom Hill this week. So I'm praying he can get back on the field. If not, I'm gonna have to put in Isaiah Likely in bad weather against the Rams. It's a good matchup, but it is bad weather. But I will have to play Isaiah Likely if Taysom Hill can't go. Looks like Swift and Pollard, not the best matchups playing against each other, but it is a high over under. So hopefully they can, get a touchdown to save my day. They both could have had a touchdown in their first matchup in Philly, which is a game that I went to, and but they didn't. But that's what's I'm gonna have to save my day by getting a touchdown for these guys in this game, because they're not gonna rack up a whole lot of yards against each other on the ground. It's gonna be more through the air. Both these teams are gonna be throwing the ball on each other. Receivers, a lot of tough matchups. Puka Nacua against Baltimore, tough matchup. Nico Collins against the Jets, it is the toughest matchup you can get. Sauce Gardner is going to be covering Nico. That's as tough as it gets, man. Sauce is like 6'3", 6'2". He's one of the few corners in the whole league that I think can guard Nico. Probably literally the only guy, I would say, with a straight face, be like, yeah, I mean, I could see him locking up Nico, because he's the same size as him. Nico's just much, much bigger than most corners. Sauce is one of the few that is big and can match up with him. And we'll see. I still am optimistic about him, though, because they find ways to get him the ball through the scheme. Amon-Ra St. Brown, on paper, good match against Chicago, but as I've told you on this pod, Chicago's defense is a lot better than what people think, especially their secondary. And I think that is going to be a tough matchup for Nico Collins, or I'm sorry, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to go to my channel here in case anybody sends in any chats. All right. So we got Justin Fields. And let me see that. I want to see that on up close and personal so I can know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the weather right now, but yeah, it's clear. Originally, they said that it was going to be a snow game for Justin Fields against Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Fields, but it says it's clear now. I do have news that I purchased a ticket for that game. Flight is purchased. Hotel is purchased. I'm going to fly up to Chicago Saturday, hang out for the day, and then Sunday go to the game, and then hang out the rest of my time in Chicago and watch the Sunday night game against the Eagles and Dallas. So, because that's going to really dictate whether or not I win this matchup. And finally at night, I'll have Miami defense on Monday night and Sanders and Mostert to finally give me the win essentially against Tua. So it's probably going to be a 3-on-1 against Tua to see who wins this matchup. That'll be interesting against the Tennessee Titans because they give up the pass a lot more than the run. So he's kind of favored in that. But luckily I have a kicker to give me some points if Tua's drive stall, and every time he scores a touchdown, you can -1 from that because the kicker steals the extra point from him, right? So if he gets a throwing touchdown for 4 points, it's really only 3 points because I have Sanders. So that's nice. He's got Ridley in some weather against Cleveland, I believe that is. Let's make sure. Yeah. And they're going to be hungry after giving up a lot of points to the Rams last week. I think Denzel Ward should be back in that game, and that's bad news for Ridley. It looks like Trevor Lawrence is practicing already. I thought he was going to be out, so I thought that was going to be bad news for Ridley as well. But if he comes back, that's awesome. Looks like there's going to be some weather in New York for Garrett Wilson. The good thing for him is he has Zach Wilson comes back. I think that helps him a little bit. And then he's got Monday night Dobbs. So essentially, I guess he'll have Tua and Dobbs to go against my trio down here. And I think that he could possibly have a good game without Christian Watson. Jordan Love has been playing really good football, so I think Dobbs is a decent option without Watson. I think, he's in store for probably a decent game, so hopefully I can avoid him catching a touchdown. As far as Rachaad White's concerned, I've been saying all along, I think he's one of the best backs in fantasy right now. I've said that for 6 or 7 weeks, and I'm thankful that he has a very tough matchup against Atlanta this week. Doesn't get any tougher than that. They're one of the better run defenses in the NFL, so I'm thankful for that, and I think Atlanta's going to contain him a little bit, keep him at least in the 11, 12, 13 range, which is manageable. I just don't want him to blow up. As far as Najee Harris is concerned, I talked to you about this already. I think that he is going to be TD dependent today, and I don't see him getting one. Anytime you're facing Najee Harris, you're very happy. That offense sucks. They can't move the chains on third down. They're not in the red zone very often. They can't put up points. The over-under is 30. I doubt Najee Harris does anything, so hopefully he doesn't. Because if he scores a touchdown or two, that would be like a backbreaker for me, essentially. Kyle Pitts is a throw-in for him. He picked him up this week because McBride is on the bye. He sucks all year. I mean, Tampa Bay is good. They're a good matchup for tight ends, but if Kyle Pitts did anything against me, I would just be unlucky. He's been bad all year. Kenneth Walker, I don't think is going to play. He didn't practice today. Non-participant Wednesday. I don't know what it was today. I don't personally think he's going to play. And if he does, he's going against San Fran. It's a terrible matchup. So I'm not really concerned about him. I think he just there's a reason why he's 3-10. And on top of that, he has bad matchups to go with it. Kenneth Walker's been hurt. And if he does come back, he's going against San Fran. And Rachaad White's going against Atlanta. Receivers got tough matchups as well. Ridley against Cleveland. The bright spot of his team is Tua because Tennessee is so bad against the pass and they're pretty good against the run This is a spot where he can make up a lot of ground. Mostert gets locked up, or Achane is the one who gets the touchdown, and then Tua balls out. Or hypothetically, Tua throws touchdowns to Achane. That would be like worst case for me. But again, Sanders would make up for that a little bit by getting extra points, and hopefully some drives get stalled and he gets field goals. And overall, I'll be at the game in Chicago, and I'll get to cheer on my boy Justin Fields. I think this is going to be a huge game for him, guys. I said that against Minnesota, and I was wrong. He moved the ball really well against Minnesota. I know that game ended up being a huge snoozer of a game, and I know a lot of the public, or I don't say a lot of the public, all of the public pretty much shitted on Justin Fields after that game and shitted on the Bears for their offense. But in general, they were calling like a ton of screens in that game, and they were moving the ball just fine, especially like if you look at certain drives, the first drive specifically. Justin made a ton of incredible plays, getting out of the pocket, scrambling, making plays. They get down inside the red zone, they stall, kick a field goal. Another time they were on the 4-yard line. It was 2nd and 4 on the goal after running a 6-yard run from the 10 on first down, getting down to the 4. On second down, they call a terrible play action rollout with like no options. He throws it out of bounds. Then on 3rd and 4 on the goal line, they throw a quick screen, taking the ball out of the hands of a running quarterback. Terrible play calling. Obviously, I want Justin to throw a touchdown, but on second down, if after getting 6 yards on first, pound him again, and or just run a QB run. I know you're not trying to get Justin hurt, but to be completely honest, man, I've been advocating for this all year. I want a coordinator to get in there who's going to utilize Justin's skills, and that means getting him out of the pocket, moving him around, lots of read option, lots of design runs for the quarterback, just essentially turning him into like a Cam Newton or a Lamar Jackson, those kind of offenses. And if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. That's just the nature of the beast. When you have an athlete like that, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, these guys are going to run, bro. And we're going to have design runs. You limit them as their career progresses, just as the Bills had. But look at the Bills when they were most successful. I want to say that they were doing more designs with Josh Allen than they are now. They need to get back to that more. And I know they're trying to avoid injuries, but that's what they need to get to. And it's in this game going against the Lions. He rushed for over 100 against them last game. Against Minnesota, as I'm trying to say, is they moved the ball just fine against them. They just stalled on a bunch of field goals, and then he had those 2 fumbles in the fourth quarter. But I think if he turns those field goals into touchdowns, it's a massive game for Justin, and it's a blowout against Minnesota. So I think I think Detroit and them is going to be a competitive game, but I think that the Bears are going to beat them at home. They're 3.5-point dogs, and that is my pick of the week, by the way. That's another reason why I'm going to the game, because I am going to bet on them, and I am going to cheer hard for Justin Fields in my fantasy league, because if he plays well, I'm going to win this matchup, and I'm going to get a bye in the diamond, and I can win the league this year. So this is the start of something big with Justin Fields. I drafted him really high. I spent $30-something on him in my salary cap draft here. For these moments, for him to be an outlier, there's very few quarterbacks in fantasy that can possibly rush for 150 yards or they can pass for 300 plus yards. There's only like Josh Allen. He can't do it. Lamar Jackson's really the only one that can do what Justin Fields can do as a fantasy player. Granted, both of them don't always put those kind of ceilings out there. The fact that they have those kind of ceilings, they're invaluable. That's the reason why I always say that you should be drafting these kind of players. As I said, when I did my pre-draft videos, the only 5 guys you should be drafting are Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Justin Fields. Now, the one thing I'll say is, as this year has been a strange year, that there is a lot of valuable quarterbacks, and on top of that, those five guys I mentioned, they haven't performed to the level that you would expect them to. But I don't believe that it's just. I believe I don't believe that it's because they're bad or because any other reason but variance. I think that these five guys over the course of 150 games would still be the best five quarterbacks for fantasy. But obviously, you have um, you know, the emergence of C.J. Stroud. Sam Howell's had a good year. Kirk Cousins played well before he got hurt. Um, Purdy has been hot, and obviously Dak Prescott's having one of those kind of years that's amazing. And to be completely honest with you, you can almost put Dak in the category of these five if he's going to be attached to CeeDee Lamb the way he is this year, because he's been incredible with CeeDee Lamb this year, and he's also has the ability to run a little bit. That being said, I should win this week. I'm very confident I will. We're going to pick myself. Moving on to the guerrilla warfare and the Mahomes. Mahomes is the 4th seed right now, and his week this week is actually irrelevant. It doesn't matter. He's got Derrick Henry against Miami, Javonte against the Chargers, Kelsey against Buffalo with Pat Mahomes. I think this is a good spot for his team to have another good week. So I think he'll beat guerrilla warfare. Moving on to Comeback Kid and Whoopsie. Whoopsie's team is the hottest team in the league right now. Myself and Korea's team are just as hot as him, but his team has been really hot with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. I think that he will win this one pretty easily. Comeback Kid's team is just really hurt, banged up, and just not been a good ball club this year. And Whoopsie is thriving right now. I think he'll get into the playoffs, and he'll be a team that we all want to avoid playing. If I'm the 2 seed, I won't have to play him. It'll either be Korea, because I think the seeds will stay fairly similar to the way they are now. Not much can change, to be honest. So Whoopsie will either be the 6th or the 5th seed. And with that being said, I won't have to see this team until a championship, which is good news, because I can beat it, but it's a scary team because Dak Prescott has a very nice schedule, and he has that triple stack, him, Lamb, and Ferguson. It's just tough to beat right now because he literally likes throwing to those two guys the most. And he's hot, so it's tough to beat right now. Moving on to the Criminals and Hurt Thielens. The Criminals is one of those teams can threaten me for a bye this week. But Hurt Thielens actually has a pretty good team to throw out there this week. He has Barkley against Green Bay. He has Lamar Jackson against the Rams, Devontae Adams against Minnesota, and most likely that's the people he's going to sub in here. And to go along there with Olave, Thielen, Sutton, Zeke Elliott, who's playing tonight and getting the full workload, Pat Freiermuth, that's a pretty good team. I think the Criminals losing Tank Dell was a massive loss. He's in a need, and then ETN going into Cleveland's tough. He's in a need Christian to really blow up this week to win. I think that's the only way he's going to win this week. But overall, it doesn't matter for Criminals. He's in the playoffs. It's just a matter of seeding. He really wants him to win this week badly and me to lose. That is the way he can get a bye. I think Hurt Thielens is going to pull off a victory here just based off of matchups, though. That Tank Dell injury is just super massive, man. He's hoping Jalen Hyatt can turn it on here down the stretch. He had a good game last week, but I just think Giants have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. I don't think that. I know that. And I don't predict Jalen Hyatt doing anything special here down the stretch. He could possibly have one blow up game, catching a long pass or something like that. Maybe that's what the Criminals is hoping for, just that high ceiling. But I think his floor is too low to be having impact in fantasy. It's just the problem is there's just not a lot of better options at this point of the year. Tank Dell was just a massive loss for him, man. We'll pick Hurt Thielens in this one. It can go either that one. They all can go either way, but especially that one. I'm gonna take a piss real quick. So in this matchup, it's very similar to the last one. Still legit, 9-4. He has the same record as me, but lower points. He needs me to lose and him to win. That is how he's gonna get a bye. He is really banged up as well. He's lost a few players here. He has Brian Robinson on a bye, but he's hurt. Aaron Jones has been practicing. I don't know if he'll be able to get him in the lineup. Maybe he will. He's got Warren playing tonight against a tough New England defense. Kyron against a really tough Baltimore defense. And then Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson, as I said, working against each other now at this point. I think that wealth is going to be spread out in Minnesota in an offense that's not that good anyways with Dobbs. I think that his team is on a really downward trajectory here. Automatic Pickens has a ton of firepower with Tyreek, Chase, Hurts, and I think that Rashee Rice is going to get in a shootout with Buffalo, and Gus Edwards probably score another touchdown as he's done all year. Cole Kmet in a really good matchup against Detroit. Detroit's been bad against tight ends, and Jaden Reed in a good spot without Christian Watson. So I think that Automatic Pickens is going to win this matchup, and I think that Automatic Pickens he's praying for a win and a blowout win in a whoopsie loss, and he has to outscore him too. So it's going to be tough. Automatic Pickens has an outside chance to be the 6th seed right now, and he'd be a dangerous team to get in with Hurts, Chase, and Hill. That's firepower right there. The reason why his team is probably not in the playoffs right now, or I'm going to just say the reason his team is not in the playoffs and probably won't, is Eckler's just been a real bad bust for him, because Eckler's missed a bunch of games this year, and then this lately he's just been not doing anything. That's tough when you have that guy as your like main piece and he's just not producing. Moving on to the last matchup, I Am Nice, Gary M, the nicest guy I know, going off against Korea, who is the 1 seed. Korea is full strength here. He's got Bijan against Tampa Bay, who I think are going to be missing Devontae David and company at linebacker, Devin White. They're going to be able to pound him. I think Bijan's going to have a big game against them. Achane, he'll do his thing as he has. Him and Mostert, they're both going to do well, I believe, against Tennessee. Laporta, tough matchup against Chicago. And Kenneth Mitchell is a wild card. I have no idea what's going to happen with him. I don't know how they're going to use him. They've switched up his snap percentage like every week the last 3 weeks, so it's really tough to predict. I think in a perfect world, they want him to be the featured back and Gus Edwards to kind of just be the short yardage guy and the goal line guy. But I think that he's just a wild card. I believe that he's valuable just based on the fact that I think he's going to be featured. But if Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson are going to be stealing all the goal line carries from him and the touchdowns from him, he's just what he is. He's a decent flex. I'm curious. We're all curious as fantasy football lovers to see what they do with him down this stretch. He is a huge wild card for Korea going down the stretch. Singletary's stock went way down this past week with his snaps being shared with Dameon Pierce again. It looked like Spears was going to be a good spot start for him at flex, but Derrick Henry apparently doesn't have a concussion. So he's going to roll with Kenneth Mitchell as his flex, and he deeply needs him to become 60 to 70% snap share in that offense. I don't think he will, guys. I think Gus Edwards and Justice Hill are going to take, at least 50% of those snaps together total. So that leaves 50 max for Mitchell, in my opinion, without goal line carries. But we'll see, though. He had a good workload this past week, and it seemed like they want to feature him. Similarly to the way it appears Miami wants to feature Achane. Mostert, as great as he's been and how much I advocate for him on this pod and how much I say that he's having a historical season analytically, mathematically, with the eye test and everything. Raheem Mostert's fucking amazing. Sometimes, coaches, they find their new little toy, which is Devon Achane, and they just want to use him. And they'll be smart because he's not a big guy, and Mostert's going to get his 50% of snaps. But Achane seems like the guy that they want to feature. Last week, just to give you a little insight about Achane, if you're a holder of him, that first touchdown that they threw to Tyreek Hill on the left side of the field, Achane burnt his corner for a touchdown as well. Tua was just looking at Tyreek Hill. If he was looking at Achane instead, he would have had a bomb to Achane. And I know they saw that on tape too. And trust me, they're going to try to use that in the future. Achane, he's a special, talent. His speed is incredible. And he's shown that he can make runs in between the tackles now. At least enough where I respect him. He made a nice goal line run for a touchdown this past week. And I think that if he's in during a package and they get down into the 5-yard line, they're not going to take him out and put Raheem Mostert in on first down. They're going to leave that package in. So I think it really just matters about game flow and who's in the game at that time for certain packages. And him and Mostert will play at the same time quite a bit as well. And they're both going to eat in this offense. I think they'll take turns on who's getting touchdowns. But overall, this is a very strong team. This is the 1 seed. And luckily, I won't have to see this team until the championship. No matter what happens, even if I lose this week, I won't have to see this team until the championship. That'll do it for Diamond Talk. I don't have any questions, but I'm going to go into tonight's game. And I feel pretty passionately about this. And I'll say that I'm not going to pick a winner tonight. But I will say that I think the under is a lock. I'm not going to pick a team. If I said something different a second ago there, I didn't mean to. I'm not going to pick a team. I'm going to pick the over-under for this game. If I had to pick a team, gun to head, it's going to be the Steelers. If I had to pick a score, I would say 17-6 Steelers. That would mean they cover and it goes under. I've said this in the past on FFA. You can find it on record. If you see an over-under that is 33 or less, hammer the under. It damn near always goes under. And I can sit here and I can be like, oh no, I'm going to jinx myself. Sure. Who knows? That's gambling. You're not going to always win. But I will tell you right now, tonight, the under is an extremely strong play. Extremely strong play. Like max unit strong kind of play. Bree, that's me. I knocked. Come here. Bree, come. Lay down. There's nobody here. I did that. That was me. You're not going to get anybody. Huh? You trying to protect the house? Good girl, lay down. So, I would strongly recommend taking the under tonight. And then you can thank me later, guys. You can tune in another time and thank me later. I won't be going live Sunday. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be going to the Bears game. I'm going to go see Justin Fields in the flesh, cheer him on. I need a big game from him this week to get a bye. In great position to get a bye this week. And, you know, I'm going to need a strong game from Justin, and I think he will. My other matchups are tough. I think Raheem Mostert, Swift, and Tony Pollard all have tough matchups. If Taysom Hill doesn't play, that makes it even tougher. Puka Nacua and Nico Collins both have tough matchups. Even St. Brown has a tough matchup against the Bears. So I need Justin Fields to put up 30-something. This is the week I need him to blow up because my team can attack you in multiple different ways. My running backs can go off. My flex can go off. My tight end's strong. My receivers can go off on you. And I believe Justin Fields can go off on you too. He can go off on you for 40. He could rush for $150 and 2 touchdowns, throw for 160 and another touchdown. That's how good he is and how much of a weapon he is in fantasy and offensively. He broke like over 4 or 5 50-yard runs last year, and he hasn't broken one this year. He's way overdue to do that. And the last time I said somebody's overdue for something, usually it fucking comes through. So I would most likely try to lock in Justin Fields in your DraftKings lineups this week, which, by the way, I won't be able to do with you. But I'll give you some guys that I really like this week. I think that you're going to want to build your team around Alvin Kamara this week. They're going against Carolina Panthers. Especially if Taysom Hill's banged up, he's going to be, you know, the premier only goal line back. And Carolina's just been the worst team in the NFL, essentially, against running backs outside of Denver and that one outlier week with Miami Dolphins. Kamara is a slam dunk in that spot. He catches the ball out of the backfield, obviously, too. So besides his snaps coming down a little bit, taken from Jamal Williams, he is a guy that you want to build your team around. I think Justin Fields is your best option at quarterback for DraftKings this weekend. The only other people I would consider are the quarterback matchup between Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. They're very likely to get in a shootout as they usually do. And I think it would be pretty awesome to have one of those quarterbacks. The issue with them is they both are very expensive on DraftKings, but I don't fault anybody who wants to build their team around one of those guys this week. I just think you're going to have a hard time having Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes to go along with Kamara, because once you do that, you're really strapping yourself. Kamara is pretty highly priced as of now. I have a lineup with DJ Moore and Justin Fields along with Cole Kmet. I'm just going to ride them three having a big game together, and it's just being a big Bears offensive performance in general. I went with Drake London against the Bucks. They've just been really poor against receivers and against passing. Over the last 6 weeks, and I think Drake London can have a pretty good game against them. At least have volume at the very least in a PPR format on DraftKings. And I think Etwan Moore for the Browns is a good cheap option with Joe Flacco. If Joe Flacco stays the quarterback, I think that, he had 11 targets last week. If you have that kind of volume for that cheap on DraftKings, that's very good value. I think that I'm banking on him having, 10 or 11 targets again. That's the reason why I'm getting him in my lineup. Christian McCaffrey, if you can find a way to get him in your lineup this week against Seattle, I think he's a good person to have in your lineup as well. Those are two expensive running backs in Kamara and McCaffrey. But if you can just build your team around those two guys, you have great potential to have a big week in fantasy football. Last week, getting Tyreek Hill was a must. This week, I think that getting CMC or Kamara in your lineup is a must. Or both. Let's see here. Do I have any chats? No chats. Overall, guys, I'm not excited for the game tonight, but let me give you a little bit of insight, man. If you follow your boy and take the under, you're always winning when you take the under until you're not. In a boring bullshit game, when you bet on the under, trust me, it's fun. It ain't like a boring bullshit game is one of those ones that you wish you didn't watch. But when you play the under, oh, it's fucking glorious. Watching these guys punt to each other. I wish I had my boy Easy here tonight. He was going to be a guest. Man, I'll tell you what, when you take the under and it's a snoozer, God, you just feel like dancing. You see a punt, you're just like, yeah. Like you see a team throw it on third down and get an incomplete. They run it on first down. You go tick, 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 tick. It's a whole lot of fun, I'll tell you what. Your worst nightmare is like punt returns for touchdowns or kick returns for touchdowns. That's how over and unders get ruined in these kind of situations. But like I said, man, in a game like this, you're always winning until you're not when you take an under. That's the beauty of over-unders. You're never losing an under until you are. And even games that are on pace to go way over, all of a sudden you can get like a zip in the fourth quarter and or a zip in the second half of the third and fourth quarter. And all of a sudden you turn into a game where it looked like you were on pace to lose and you win. Vice versa, that could work against you sometimes when it's a snoozer in the first half and then the second half they blow up and beat you. Overall, man, this game is one of those kind of games that's going to be brutal to watch. Most likely, if you have a fantasy player playing tonight, it's because you have a bad team. Hence, the guy I'm facing tonight, he's got nothing to smile about, hence his name. And he's starting Najee Harris. So overall, the way you combat this boredom and this shitty game is taking the under and cheering for the punts, baby. You get the punt team out, get the boot out. Every time you hear that noise, you get excited. It's like a ding for money coming into your pocket, baby. I've been really hot, guys. Really, really hot. My picks of the week have been super hot. This week in particular, I'll take a look here. I already told you my pick of the week is going to be the Bears at home plus 3.5. But I will say that that's not a max play. That's a small play. I don't really love anything this week And that's fair. I don't love something every single week. Last week I gave out San Fran and I said it was an absolute lock. I said to bet everything you had, bet the mortgage on San Fran. And guess what? They came through. That's what I do. I give out sharp picks. And if you want sharp picks, you turn into FFA and you'll get a paycheck on a Sunday every week when I give you a winner. But this week, I'm not in love with a lot of games, guys. I like the Eagles against the Cowboys, but I probably won't play it, especially because it's a primetime game. I don't really like betting primetime games. I like the Chiefs at home against the Bills. If I had to pick a game besides the Bears game, this would be the one. I like that line. I like it's essentially a pick 'em. I think that the Chiefs are getting a little disrespected. They need Bolton back, their middle linebacker, but overall, I can't see them losing that game. I think they're going to beat the Bills. So I like that one. I always like San Fran. I think you're smart to take them every single week. And I think that that's it, guys. And none of those I feel strongly about. My pick of the week is the Bears, but I don't feel strongly, like super strong about it. I just think that the Bears are super underrated right now defensively. I think they're at home. It's going to be cold. And I think that Justin Fields, for the Lions, they can't stop Justin. There are certain teams that they have a good game plan for Justin and the Bears, and I can admit that because Mike Getsy, our offensive coordinator, is a fucking bum, and they got to get him out of town because he doesn't know how to scheme up for Justin and and to utilize his talent. But the Lions, they Luke Getsy. Sorry, I don't know why I said Mike Getsy. Luke Getsy. The Lions, they don't have a good game plan for the Bears. They don't match up with them well. They're a team that has been pretty good at stopping the run this year, but not a team that it can stop a running quarterback and or a team that can throw it. And the Bears are able to lock in on DJ Moore quite a bit. You see teams kind of like try to take him away in double coverage, but the Lions play a little bit of zone, and they play more zone than most teams. And outside of Hutchinson, they really can't get to the quarterback. Hence why they went after and got Bruce Urban and brought him in to try to get a better pass rush. But overall, they just haven't been able to get to the quarterback. They've struggled against running quarterbacks. And Justin Fields went for over 100 yards rushing against them last time they played. They're at home this time. They had a bye. I think they played a lot better against Minnesota offensively than the scoreboard said. As I said earlier, they moved the ball just fine. They just stalled and kicked a lot of field goals. I think that they also realized their defense was playing so well and dominating Minnesota's offense so well that they decided to be a little bit more conservative in that game. Obviously called over 30 screens. It was absolutely dreadful by Luke Getsy, but I think overall from a fantasy perspective that Justin has a big game and bounces back, and I think that the Bears are going to play good enough defense in that game to cover the spread. If the Bears lose, I can see it being by a field goal, and that would mean you win by the hook with the Chicago Bears. Not a max play, but definitely a good play. I think they're a strong play. I don't feel as passionately about it as I have in the past weeks. I've given out some really, really, really strong plays the last 4 weeks, and I fully want to be transparent and say this one doesn't fall in that category. This is more of a play that you make the bet or make the play just simply because I'm making a trend here of giving out a pick. But I think overall, I feel more passionately about the under tonight than I do on any of the team picks this week. And my Thursday night picks have been incredible this year, man. I think I'm at like a 90% win clip. So you'd probably be smart to follow along. I don't believe in jinxing myself. I won't knock on any wood. It can easily lose, man. That's the way this thing works. If it was all guaranteed, we'd all be fucking billionaires betting on these games and these making these plays. But overall, I have been a really high winning percentage, and I'm an absolute sharp, and I'm confident in my plays. And yeah, man, I'm taking the under tonight, baby. And if you like money, you'll follow. Puka Nakua ruled healthy, guys. That's big news. It's big news, guys. Guy went down terribly on his shoulder this past week, and he don't even have an injury destination going into that game. That's enormous, guys. I really need Taysom Hill to practice tomorrow. I think they're just resting him because they know they're going to need him against Carolina with Derek Carr possibly out. And that's what I'm praying for. But, yeah, I'm going to need him this week because I was looking forward to this Carolina matchup a lot the whole time when I was eyeing his schedule down the stretch when I saw, Atlanta, Carolina, New York Giants, and the Rams. I considered those all big, good spots for Taysom Hill down the stretch. Is why I was so bullish on him and telling the public here and telling everybody that follows FFA how much I loved him down the stretch. So if he misses this spot against Carolina, man, that would be really upsetting because this is his best spot. I think this spot and next week against the Giants are his best two spots because those two teams are terrible. They're going to be the game script. They're going to be winning. They're going to want to lean on them and run the ball. So Kamara and Taysom Hill are slam spots this week and next week. Hence why I said get Kamara in your lineup in DraftKings. So I really need Taysom Hill to play this week. I'd advise you to try to get Taysom Hill in your tight end spot on DraftKings. The only problem with is DraftKings is pretty sharp, man, when it comes to Taysom. They had him undervalued for a bunch of weeks, but when he went on that stretch of having those big games, when I started to tell people about him and how much his usage has changed and how much his snap percentage has gone up, the DraftKings didn't lag behind too far on that. They got him up to 5,200 pretty quick, which is a fair price. And if you play Taysom Hill, you're going to have to pay for it. 5,200 for a tight end is pretty expensive, man. It puts him right in the elite category with a lot of other good tight ends. There's only a few that are higher than him. Guys like George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Laporta. That's about it. There's like maybe one other I'm forgetting. Obviously, Mark Andrews before he got hurt, but Taysom Hill's an elite category there. So it's tougher to get him in your DraftKings lineup, but I'd play him if he's going to play against Carolina this week, man, and you have options at tight end, man. I'd pretty much choose Taysom Hill this weekend over every other tight end not named like Travis Kelce. And that includes Laporta. I think I would start. I personally think Taysom Hill is the number 2 tight end ranked going in against Carolina this week for fantasy. And I know I'm in the minority there. I probably highly doubt that I would find another expert out there who would agree with me. But I don't really care because I know what I see. I know what I know. Against Carolina in a game script like that where they're going to be winning and Carolina can't do anything and they're going to be playing it safe and running the ball, and Carolina's bad against the run, I can see Taysom Hill rushing for over 100 yards and a touchdown against them. If he adds 2 catches to that and maybe throws one for 20 yards, that's a massive, massive, massive day. So Taysom Hill must start. Let's all pray that he gets healthy. If I don't have any questions, I'm going to end the pod tonight. I wish everybody luck going into their last week of the season, week 14. I know I need some luck. I know I need to get a victory to get a bye this week. And I'll see you, all y'all boys, Tuesday, where I will essentially give the reactions to what happened if I got the bye, if I got the win, and we'll react to the NFL. Hopefully, I'm sitting there chilling on Tuesday because I know I got a bye and I got a chill week. And if I don't, I'll be getting prepared for week 1 of fantasy playoffs, which will be a really tough matchup, man, because every single team in my league is good. The bye is more important than any other year this year, in my opinion. So definitely need the bye, and you will find out Tuesday how that goes, man. Peace out to all y'all.